This is Christmas on Challenge.
On this week's show, we've made a list and checked it twice to bring you our 20 favourite games of 2015. We've got stealth, superheroes, sleuthing, skateboards, squids, shredding, space exploration, and a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't start with S, all handpicked by the VGN crew. It's a whole hour of the best, the creme de la creme, the pick of the litter, the goodest games on this week's Video Game Nation. Hello and welcome to Video Game Nation's Top 20 Games of 2015. Now, 2015 has been an exceptional year in gaming and, as a result, an exceptional year for the show. We've had the pleasure of covering a multitude of games, some instant classics, some instantly forgettable, but all have demonstrated just how diverse and creative our fun little hobby has become. This is a time where games about silver-haired monster hunters, tortured amputee revolutionaries and upper-class grave robbers can happily sit alongside supernatural tales of teen angst, tranquil strolls through an abandoned Shropshire village, and ink-soaked battles between rival transforming squids. And now, some 44 episodes later, it's fallen to us to sort through the mountain of top-tier games that we've covered, and even those that we haven't, and whittle them down until only our 20 favourite remain. It wasn't an easy task. The debates were furious, the fistfights that broke out even more so. But after hours of agonising over which games to give the chop and which to keep in, we think we've settled on a list that everyone involved in Video Game Nation is happy to put their name to. So stick with us over the next hour as all the VGN regulars talk you through the games that made 2015 so special. First up, an Xbox One exclusive racing sim that left its rivals eating its dust.
I think the main thing about Forza 6 for me is just that it's like a forgiving but realistic racing game. It's found that perfect balance between realism, which I enjoy in a driving sim, but not the absolute rubbish when you just slightly like tap a car and say, oh, I'm 11th place now. I was second, but now I'm 11th place. Rubbish.
If you want to play a racing game this generation, you will not get a better game than Forza Motorsport 6.
Before it used to be Gran Turismo, but where they gone? They disappeared. Don't matter about them. It's all about Forza and the drivatars. Yeah, drivatars. I love the fact that I can teach an AI how to drive like me, then it goes out and makes money for me. That's wicked. I want one of those in real life.
The main thing that stood out for me was how ridiculous the opening cinematic was. Just the whole why do we race? Is it to find out how fast we are? Yes. Yes, it is.
One of the unexpected trends of 2015 was the resurgence of rhythm action. As a massive fan of the genre, this was literally music to my ears. Personal highlights included Persona 4 Dancing All Night, the bizarre but brilliant semi-sequel to one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and the beat-based beatdowns of disco dungeon crawler Crypt of the Necrodancer. We also saw two titans of music gaming embarking on their comeback tours. While Rock Band 4 was really more of the same, which is exactly what the fans wanted, Guitar Hero Live returned with a new look and sound that gave the dormant series the defibrillator shock it needed. Rebuilt from the ground up, GH Live's new guitar and deceptively streamlined notation forced even the most gifted virtual guitar virtuosos to learn how to play all over again. In the process, we all remembered why we loved it so much in the first place. The game's attempts to simulate the live experience are technically impressive, but the execution is excruciatingly inauthentic and incredibly distracting. Fortunately, it's rescued by the ingenious Guitar Hero TV, which lets you play along to hundreds of music videos being broadcast simultaneously to the rest of the world, and use tokens earned in-game to pick from the entire jukebox on demand. Now, from slaying the audience to much more literal slaying on the streets of Victorian London.
I really loved it. I thought it was the best one in a while, although I didn't really spend much time with Unity or Rogue. So I think I was ready to play another Creed game. I think if I'd played the Unity or Rogue or more of the recent ones, I'd probably been less interested, so I was ready.
Then all in all, a successful mission in spite of you two.
Having played more of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I'd say it's just as good as Unity. Like, everyone was really down on Unity because there was bugs in it, but there's still bugs in this Assassin's Creed. I'm there more for the world, which Assassin's Creed does really well.
When I played more and more of it, I realized, this is probably my favorite Assassin's Creed game for years, certainly since Black Flag. This is one that has really fun traversal, a really lovely world to go around, excellent characters, and it might not be the greatest game of all time, but it's one that, I can't stop playing.
Batman Arkham Knight's launch was more or less completely overshadowed by the fact that the PC version was riddled with bugs and serious gameplay issues that made it close to unplayable for many fans. It was a real shame for developer Rocksteady, as the game itself was a fitting end to the Arkham trilogy. The huge open world brought even more of Gotham to life than in previous installments, the combat was as satisfying as ever, and the story, while not entirely original, was enough to keep Bat fans hooked until the credits rolled. And then there was the much longed for Batmobile, and while I didn't much care for it myself, it did look and sound pretty cool. Now, not all heroes wear costumes, but this next one doesn't need to. Now, truth be told, I didn't really think Rise of the Tomb Raider story was as good as it could have been. It felt like Lara hadn't really settled into her chosen role as an adventurer, looking to follow in her father's footsteps. But uninspired story and stilted dialogue aside, the game was still incredibly polished and compelling. Though the actual tomb raiding was still disappointingly optional, the combat and weapon crafting was decidedly Moorish. And let's be honest, Lara Croft in any guise, even when she isn't written as well as she could be, is still one of gaming's most interesting and best loved heroes. Plus, Rise of the Tomb Raider's skill tree system and weapon crafting mechanic made you feel like you were building a one-woman army. And searching around for the right resources was a fun distraction in between shooting a lot of people. It was a pity that the vast majority of the game took place in Siberia, as it would have been fun to go on a globe-trotting adventure more akin to the Tomb Raider games of old. But now that a survivor has been born and the Tomb Raider has risen, hopefully that's something we can look forward to in the next game. But if developer Crystal Dynamics want to sharpen their storytelling and characterization, they can definitely look to this next game for inspiration.
He was devoted to me, and I was devoted to him. Nothing in life is easy. We were good to each other.
Games built exclusively around live-action video have been confined to the Bad Ideas dungeon ever since we all realised that there were much better uses for a CD-ROM than filling them with footage of hammy actors. So, with minds still suppressing dark memories of Night Trap and Mad Dog McCree, it was astonishing to discover some 20 years later that someone had dared to give it another go. What's even more astonishing is that the game in question is one of the year's best. Her Story is a detective story for the Google age. All of your sleuthing is done on a virtual computer desktop as you search through a police database for clips taken from a series of interviews with the wife of a missing man. Locating clips is simply a matter of entering keywords, but to keep things challenging, the database will only return a maximum of 5 results. Only by paying close attention to what's being said will you pick up on terms that might help you refine your search and piece together the full story. The genius of Her Story is that nobody will view the clips in exactly the same order, and yet the story remains compelling and coherent regardless. It's a deeply impressive achievement in interactive storytelling by writer-developer Sam Barlow, helped in no small part by a standout performance by musician and former gymnast Viva Seifert.
It's the best one I have.
Her Story's non-linear narrative might let you go your own way, but in our next game, there is only one way: forwards.
Ollie Ollie 2 should be way higher on this list. Ollie Ollie 2 is almost perfect at being exactly what it wants to be. It took everything that Ollie Ollie 1 did well and just nails it, just polishes it up, makes it even better than it was. This is probably the best 2D platformer I've played in ages. It's not like a Tony Hawk's game, you're not just about pulling off tricks, it's all about landing. You've got to land every single jump that you make, and that's the thrill of it. When you really get into the hardest levels of the game and you are just absolutely nailing it, there aren't many experiences that can match it. It's just perfect game design. It's really easy to get your head around the basics, but almost impossible to master.
I know a guy that has a skateboard and he said it was kind of good. So I take that to mean it's realistic. And it's awesome, it's really fun.
Now, I've never really been a fan of the toys to life genre that has cropped up in recent years. The games always seemed decent enough, but the toys weren't really toys. They were statues that never looked or felt like they were supposed to be played with. But that's why I love LEGO Dimensions. The portal, figures and vehicles that come with the game can be built up and broken down and are all fully functional as regular LEGO pieces. You can customize your portal however you like, and kids can play with their sets even when the consoles are turned off. It just makes perfect sense. And all this would be enough to elevate LEGO Dimensions above the majority of other Toys to Life games on its own. But then it turns out that the game is funny and witty and challenging too. The fact that it brings together so many distinct franchises could have been a recipe for disaster, but it ends up working incredibly well. The only downside is how expensive it can end up getting with all the extra add-ons and extra character packs. With the kids and big kids taken care of, this next game is a much more mature experience. Though it was light on action, this apocalyptic mystery was rich in storytelling, compelling characters, and groundbreaking graphics.
It's so nice to see a game set in the English countryside, the way the Rapture is, and in a very particular way that I think I've never really experienced in a game before. The fact that when you're walking around this space, all the little details are just right.
It reminds me quite a lot of the Archers. I'm quite a big Archers fan, so I like anything which is, you know, where you just get to listen to posh people arguing about bunting.
It was just really quiet. You know, you're so used to in video games there being explosions, here with guns, stuff. Oh, actually, even just people. Usually in games there are people to like talk to kind of have a bit of exposition with, and then suddenly, you know, you're in this completely empty village and there's nobody there.
It's because it was the one game this year that my wife enjoyed playing along with, so that was really nice. So I need more games like that in 2016, so that I don't have to sit in the little room and play them on my own.
Until Dawn is a game that I don't think anyone was particularly excited for. It was released in August to little to no fanfare as a PS4 exclusive, and even its publisher Sony didn't seem that bothered about whether anyone was playing it. But when people did start picking it up, more out of curiosity than anything else, they were surprised to find a refreshingly unique experience. It's an interactive drama survival horror adventure game, which is a fancy way of saying it's a trashy teen horror film that puts you in the director's chair. The script, story and acting are all bad, but crucially enjoyably so, and the fact that any of your central characters can live or die gives the game real intrigue, as well as a hefty amount of replayability. However satisfied you end up being with the resolution of the game's central mystery, the journey is so wonderfully schlocky that it really doesn't matter. Interactive dramas can be exceedingly hit and miss, just ask David Cage. But if there was ever a film genre perfect for them, Until Dawn proves that it's B-movie horror. More please, Sony and Supermassive, you have our attention this time. Still to come on VGN, we continue our top games of 2015 with Mario, Monsters, Metal Gear, Space Travel, Super Mutants and Squids. plus a few surprises too. We'll see you in a few.
Stay fresh.
Christmas on Challenge.
Welcome back to Video Game Nation's look at the best games of 2015, and we're about to kick off the top 10. Now, whether it's 2015 or 1985, seeing Mario on the front cover of a game has almost always guaranteed a memorable experience. Nintendo iconic character and staggeringly simple formula, created over 30 years ago now, has constantly redefined and reinvented itself for new audiences and a rapidly evolving industry. And their latest reinvention might just be their best yet. It involved taking everything they'd built over the last 3 decades, breaking it all apart into neat little building blocks, and asking us to put it all back together again.
If Nintendo is Willy Wonka, we've all just won golden tickets. And just as Willy Wonka's chocolate factory transformed the dull industrial process of confectionery making into a wondrous magical experience, so too does Super Mario Maker take the dry, difficult process of game development and turns it into an effortless, joyous process. When you start out, you might be disappointed to discover that you've only been given a few basic Mario staples to play around with on the original Super Mario Bros. Overgrown canvas, or the markedly sexier new Super Mario Bros. U alternative. It's just enough to build your very own take on World 1-1, but it still doesn't feel like the promised opportunity to let your imagination run riot. And that's precisely the point. One of the common failings of most level creators is that they throw everything at you at once. Some people thrive on having so much choice on offer, but others, like me, are very quickly overwhelmed. Super Mario Maker does the exact opposite, releasing new tools, environments, and game styles over a 9-day period, as long as you spend at least 5 minutes tinkering with it each day. Super Mario Maker makes level creation so speedy and intuitive that you'll feel compelled to experiment and bend rules that have been in place for decades, and Nintendo is 100% behind your decision to do so. Want to drop enemies into question mark blocks for a nasty surprise? You can do it. Want to give a Boo wings to make it even faster and more annoying? Be their guest. Want to create a pyramid of Goombas topped with a fire-spitting Bowser? Go right ahead. Beyond that, there's the online course world, where you can play, share, and download courses from other Super Mario makers all over the globe. There are already dozens of ingenious creations to sample. Highlights include a vertical bowling game with its own scoring system, a shoot-'em-up using Bowser's Clown Copter, and a self-playing level that rickrolls anyone unfortunate enough to fall for it. It's dangerously easy to lose yourself once an idea takes control, as I can testify after spending several sleepless nights enthralled to getting my creations just right. As birthday presents go, you really couldn't wish for better. I guess there's no more glowing a recommendation I can give to Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate than to say that it's the game that I spent more time on than any other this year. And when I say more time, I mean about 300 hours more. As its name suggests, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is a beast. A game stuffed with so much depth, so much content, and so much variety that it's amazing that it fits onto a 3DS cartridge. It's also an acquired taste. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is the result of countless refinements and additions to an idiosyncratic formula that's remained relatively unchanged over the last decade. Some will find it slow to start, but once you've seen what lies ahead, you'll be grateful for the gentle introduction. It's the sort of game where any of its 14 weapons will last you an entire playthrough, where each monster fight feels like the best boss fight you've ever encountered, and where you'll discover the true meaning of co-op gaming. And as we see an increasing number of games locking additional content away behind extortionate season passes, it's great to see a game that offers so much to the player absolutely free. And talking of games that keep on giving, here's one that shows Nintendo at its generous best. Stay fresh. How do you make a shooter that features no bullets, no violence, and no death, yet still manages to scratch our itchy trigger fingers? Simple. Just add squids.
If there's one type of game we didn't expect Nintendo to tackle, it's the competitive online shooter. But here it is, and it's exactly what you'd expect from the company who looked at real-time strategy and thought, I know, let's make a game about tiny flower people.
SPLATOON is the brainchild of a new generation of Nintendo creatives, developers with a clear passion for the likes of Call of Duty and Battlefield, who wanted to translate the thrills those games provide into something more colourful, more inventive and more universal.
SPLATOON imagines a world populated by Inklings, squids who can somehow transform into humanoids with a penchant for Japanese urban fashion and high-energy pop music. Their home of Inkopolis is a strange, hallucinatory hybrid of Shibuya and a seafood restaurant, the sort of city where a deep-fried prawn selling trainers is considered perfectly normal.
This chilled-out hub area is a welcome oasis of calm compared to the manic, messy action that SPLATOON revels in, like pig in mud, or more accurately, a squid in ink.
Ink is the unifying substance at the heart of SPLATOON. It's at once the singular source of ammo, a medium for redecorating the world, and a means of traversal for its squid heroes. As a humanoid, your gun or roller creates rivers of ink that your squid form can swim around in at high speed. This also serves as a means of hiding in plain sight and reloading your ink tank. Of course, where every other shooter would default to a team deathmatch, SPLATOON dares to be different with Turf War. Turf War is a 4-on-4 battle where, well, let me show you.
Right, let's imagine that this sheet right here represents a typical SPLATOON arena. Me and my gun full of orange ink are Team A, or in SPLATOON's vernacular, the good guys. My glamorous assistant Jo here, with her gun full of blue ink, is Team B, the bad guys. Now, we have 3 minutes to cover this arena in as much of our team's inky color as humanly possible. You ready, Jo? Excellent. Let's go. Well, I don't really think that made things any clearer, but I just wanted an excuse to do it, really. Thanks, Jo.
Ah, good morning, sir.
How'd a girl like me ever get so lucky, huh?
Few games have ever left me as conflicted as Fallout 4. If it was a house, it would be a gigantic, slightly run-down mansion, the sort where you can easily get lost trying to find the toilet and just as easily trip up on a loose bit of carpet or get stuck in said toilet because the door handle's just fallen off.
Which is to say that it's a game that's at once incredibly grand and ambitious, but also fraying around the edges. And for a sequel 7 years in the making, that's pretty disappointing, especially as exactly the same criticism could be leveled at Fallout 3. As with any Fallout game, the urgency of your task soon dissipates as you realize that Boston is now yours to roam at your leisure, and it's absolutely stuffed with folk who either need your help or want to succeed where the nukes failed. It's a familiar mix of exploration, gunplay, fetch quests, and lengthy conversations, although this time there's some added town planning to keep things interesting. And this, for me, is where the cracks start to show. First-person construction can work, see Minecraft, but Fallout's approach feels bolted onto an engine that was never intended to support it and is fairly clumsy as a result.
Fortunately, it's also almost completely optional, and if you choose to ignore it, there's still dozens of hours worth of stuff to see, do, and blow into tiny pieces.
Fallout 4 isn't a game that's interested in winning new fans, which is at once admirable and a little wrong-headed. Rather than making a concerted effort to tackle the series' fundamental weaknesses, it chooses instead to focus on its existing aptitude for open-world storytelling and emergent play.
That's no bad thing, but in a post-Metal Gear Solid 5, Witcher 3 and GTA 5 world, it can feel like something of a relic at times. It doesn't rob it of its scrappy charm and ability to make hours feel like mere minutes, but it's difficult not to be a little disappointed. Proceed with caution.
I believe you need a distraction.
Fallout 4 is easily one of the most engrossing games of this year. I'm still making my way through the wasteland now. Speaking of which, now is as good a time as any to take a quick break, but stick around as we'll be continuing our look back at the top games of 2015 after the break. Have we mentioned yours yet? Are we gonna? There's only one way to find out. Stay tuned.
It's coming out on the Xbox soon. Yeah, but when is it coming? Next year. I got to wait till then. I want to play it now.
Christmas on Challenge.
Welcome back to our top 20 games of 2015 special. Now, our sixth favourite game of the year was responsible for the most catastrophic and hence most entertaining challenge in Video Game Nation history. Kerbal Space Program is an incredibly clever, incredibly complex space exploration simulator for which the phrase "it's not rocket science" certainly doesn't apply because, well, that's exactly what it is. Although you can play it as a full-blown space center management sim, most of the fun orbits around constructing a space-worthy craft and praying that you're not about to launch the Kerbal equivalent of the Challenger. This is a tricky task as it is, requiring a thorough understanding of the various parts that make up a spacecraft, as well as how those different elements work together. Failure to grasp such intricacies invariably results in horrible, fiery disaster. Because he's a sadist, our producer decided that 5 minutes would be more than enough time for us to get a fully functioning spaceship together. As you'll see from these challenge highlights, he was wrong.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. We have liftoff. Well, that's a result. Here we go. Here we go.
Brandine's having the time of her life. Yes, girl.
Oh Christ! Oh no. So you'll have to do that again, because. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh no, they're all right. The guys are all right. I mean, I don't know how they're not dead, because everything was on fire for ages, but I mean, Raymore, they actually look incredibly calm, don't they, if you... No, they're delighted. Well, if they're happy, I'm happy. 71 metres. Not too shabby.
Look at us! Look at us go!
Ancillary boosters away. Let's give some more speed. Do not want to roll over in the atmosphere at this point.
Oh no, I've got to do that. Oh no, I've screwed it. I've screwed it. I'm alive. I'm alive. Oh, that's brilliant.
Right, let's see if my staging is at least halfway successful and see if I can jettison these superfluous fuel pods. Yes! Glorious.
I could just go to the moon.
Where are we? Are we coming back down yet? Okay, alright. We're on our return voyage now.
Oh, my fuel's almost run out, which means I'm now just going to be carried forth by momentum. So, if I press... Hopefully my staging is right, I will now eject everything except that pod. It looks like a crayon. A lovely giant Crayola in space.
There. Yes. Basically what happened is my random orbit happened to get crossed by the moon.
Well, I guess I will land, and if I don't do anything, I'll come back down again.
Now, likelihood is, considering I didn't give this thing landing legs, I'm in for a high-speed crash on the surface of the moon.
Look at them all, look at how happy they are. I'm glad I could give you this experience, Jambi. We're burning up.
Let's rack up time. Now we're going 1,000. Uh-oh. Why am I burning? Don't burn. No, 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 no. I'm re-entering. Oh, no.
You can't put the parachute on during this. Oh. What just happened? Chantal, Brandine, Jambi, I'm so sorry.
So as soon as I launch the parachute... Oh, no, that parachute's gone on its own! Oh, but it's been destroyed because of the heat! No! There's an island! Oh, this isn't going to end well.
I'm low on fuel. 30 litres of fuel left. And there we go.
Oh, no! Oh, no! What happened? Are they okay?
One small step for Kerbal Kind, one giant leap for Video Game Nation.
It's quite difficult to explain Rocket League's popularity to the sort of lay person. As a gaming expert though, I'm going to use a couple of specialist terms here, but just bear with me. What they did was they took two things that people like, which is football, right, and cars, and they put them together to make a football cars game, if you will.
You see a car and you go, I could drive a car. I can't, I don't have a driver's license. And you see a football and you go, I could kick a football. I wouldn't, because I'd run out of breath quite quickly. But I could, and I instinctively understand those things.
The good thing about Rocket League is even if you're rubbish at it, you're sometimes good at it. So it's got a nice level playing field. Even if you don't really know what the buttons are, sometimes you'll just catch the ball and you'll get a goal from the centre line. And there is nothing more satisfying than that.
I mean, the last time I enjoyed football so much was Kung Fu in Rayman Legends.
You didn't really hear anything about it, and then everyone was absolutely obsessing about it. And then when I saw what it was, I was like, really? That? Okay, all right.
Oh, Rocket League looks so fun. I want to play it so much. It looks like a modern day Micro Machines football, and I want to play it, but I haven't got a PS4. I feel like that kid on the sidelines, you know, like everyone's selecting the football teams, and I get picked as a sub, and I got to watch them play. And then it's like, yeah, don't worry, you can play soon. It's coming out on the Xbox soon. Yeah, but when is it coming? Next year. I got to wait till then. I want to play it now. Everyone's playing it now.
As my late fictional grandfather once told me, never judge a game by its tutorial section. These words rattled around in my brain during The Witcher 3's opening moments as I was assaulted by its janky movement, hyperactive camera, confusing combat, and lingering shots of a woman's bum.
But I told myself The Witcher is Poland's most popular export since its own workforce, a series of such note that it has even earned the attention of Barack Obama. From the moment you're free to roam the opening area of White Orchard, you'll be overwhelmed by the number of monster lairs to be destroyed, hidden treasure to be discovered, villages to be liberated, and mysteries to be solved. And that's just the prologue.
If you have the willpower to stay on the beaten track, The Witcher 3 could likely last you a solid 40 to 50 hours. But with the wealth of other attractions on offer, that figure could easily skyrocket into the low hundreds.
The beauty of these diversions is that they're largely all killer with very little filler. Most offer up compelling tales of their own, from tragic tales of illicit love to a surprisingly humorous encounter with an old woman who just won't shut up about her precious missing pan. Everything contributes to the feeling that The Witcher's world is thoroughly lived in and populated by real human beings. Most experience is gained by completing quests, so there's very little point in picking fights unless they're essential to progress. It ensures that there's rarely a dull moment, as you're constantly focused on seeking out new activities rather than mindless hacking and slashing.
Not that The Witcher 3's brand of hack and slash is particularly mindless.
While the combat lacks the satisfying heft of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, it calls upon a similar combination of tactics and reflexes.
Now, as I've mentioned, The Witcher 3 isn't without its faults. Some, like the incredibly loose camera, can be tackled by adjusting a few sliders in the settings menu, but others, like Geralt's irritating knack for dying instantly after falling just a few meters, are just quirks you're going to have to get used to.
Still, the frustrations caused by these mechanical flaws melt away once you've spent a few hours submerging yourself, sometimes literally, in its gorgeous world and engrossing lore. It's a work of staggering, almost intimidating scope that's as deep as it is wide.
Gameplay systems, tactical espionage operations, massively convoluted story, and cardboard boxes. Yep, sounds like a Metal Gear game. Except Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is unlike any other Metal Gear game you've played before. It's open world for one thing. You control Big Boss as he swaps the series' traditionally linear environments for the wide open spaces of Afghanistan and Zaire. And naturally, this change of pace radically shakes up how you'll need to approach the game's core, stealth-focused gameplay. The beauty of the world is that it's designed to be open but also tailored to fit specific needs where necessary. You'll almost always be able to scope out a vantage point to tag enemies with your binoculars before heading right into their midst. But if the game needs you to be somewhere specific, for a boss fight for example, it'll very elegantly tunnel you somehow in without you even noticing. Snake won't always have to go it alone on the battlefield though. A buddy system allows you to bring in a little support, from D-Horse, who'll speed up your travel times and defecate on command, to the adorable D-Dog, who can sniff out items and keep enemies occupied as you sneak by. There's also the sniper, Quiet, the lone female character of the game who's as mute as she is underdressed. It's a shame that Kojima has chosen to keep her costume on the minimal side. He's written in some spurious reason that she has to be in her underwear, of course, but in-game it's really just kind of distracting, and doesn't show off MGS5 or gamers in the best light should someone happen upon you playing it while she's on screen. But Kojima has and will always do exactly as Kojima wants. Speaking of Kojima, his highly public falling out with publisher Konami earlier this year has made it so that everyone knows this will be the auteur's last Metal Gear game. But are we sad to see the conclusion of his legacy? Whether Konami continue the story of Metal Gear without him, many fans will consider The Phantom Pain as the true conclusion to the series. And although in many ways it feels radically different to the series entries that have come before it, The Phantom Pain is both a fitting end to the franchise and one of its high points. Say what you will about the quality of its writing or even its open world or beautifully interlocking gameplay systems, Metal Gear Solid 5 had an adorable dog that you could dress up in cute little dog outfits, so that's Game of the Year material as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, there are just 2 titles left to reveal as our favourite of 2015. What will they be? I'd give you a clue, but that'd be cheating, so I'll see you back here after the break. See you in a few.
I've wasted my life is what I'm saying.
This is Christmas on Challenge.
Welcome back to Video Game Nation's top 20 games of 2015. Now, there are only 2 left to reveal, so which do you think grabbed the penultimate place in our hearts? Well, it's a game that wasn't even on most people's radars this time last year, but after 11 months, 5 episodes and over 1 million copies sold, it gained a vast and loyal following and quickly became one of the most interesting and emotionally intelligent games of recent memory. Isn't life strange?
I feel like Life is Strange was a real proof of episodic gaming. I know everyone sort of has been saying this for years, oh, this game is the proof of episodic gaming, but this is the one which, more than any other, I feel has won people over as it's progressed. And I think the fact that it's a game that's about, you know, a teenage girl, that it is about themes and ideas that most video games simply aren't about, I think that has this massive, like, glacier audience of people who don't usually talk about games, don't usually engage with games, but absolutely are there and absolutely would if more games like this existed.
I've got to almost 30 now, and it's like I've pretty much covered being a white English guy. Got that, plenty of experience with that. Let's find out what the world is like for other people, and in video games you can experience that in the first person.
Don't stress, you're okay, bro, just count to 3.
I think what made Life is Strange an interesting game was the time mechanic, the ability to kind of rewind and change history, and that made for quite interesting gameplay. You know, because especially it makes you think about what if you had that power in real life, and what if, you know, you weren't, say, a video games journalist with mediocre talents. What if you'd become a rich property developer, or, you know, you'd become a doctor and joined Médecins Sans Frontières and saved lives? I've wasted my life is what I'm saying.
Well, anything that opens up the dialogue about mental health is a really, really good thing. I'm not 100% convinced that every element of the game necessarily nailed it in the way it approached certain aspects, but it was great in that it took a mature look at mental health. Life is Strange is a good example of how gaming can actually show to people we can do a bit more than obsess over women or punch people.
Start from the beginning.
It was just kind of very sweet, very honest, and felt very, very true. And I don't know, sometimes you tend to get these really hyper-real characters in games, and whilst it's fun to sort of live in that kind of fantasy world, the real world is kind of ignored a little bit, and sometimes there are so many great stories and really heartfelt moments in reality. It was just kind of really nice to see that. So it was just a really honest game.
Before we reveal the game that Team VGN picked as its best of 2015, let's take one last look at those that fell just short of the mark. Bringing up the rear at 20, it's Forza Motorsport 6. At 19, Guitar Hero Live proves to be a welcome encore. Assassin's Creed Syndicate sneaks into 18th place. Batman Arkham Knight drags number 17 into the shadows.
This ain't your city anymore.
In at 16, Lara is back in business with Rise of the Tomb Raider. Her story is our 15th favourite game of 2015, and that's no lie. 14 is also the average number of times you'll bail per minute in Ollie Ollie 2. LEGO Dimensions isn't toying around at 13. How Everybody's Gone to the Rapture made 12th place isn't a mystery.
Even if they can't see it, I'm proud of you.
11th placed Until Dawn manages to scare up the horror game of the year. At 10, Nintendo hands us the keys to the Mushroom Kingdom in Super Mario Maker. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate eviscerates the handheld competition at 9. Splatoon squirts its way into our hearts and 8th place. At number 7, Fallout 4 is the only good thing to emerge from the nuclear holocaust. Propelling itself into 6th, Kerbal Space Program makes physics fun. Surprise hit of the year, Rocket League tonks itself into 5th position. In 4th place, The Witcher 3 ensures you'll never look at unicorns in quite the same way again. Metal Gear Solid 5 goes to great phantom pains to earn its top 3 spot. And turning back time at number 2, its excellent episodic adventure, Life is Strange. So what game do we think towered above all others this year? Well, here's a few clues. It's a PS4 exclusive, it's created by From Software, and it's really, really hard. It can only be...
Whenever I tell someone that I have played or am playing Bloodborne, they inevitably ask just one thing. Is it easier or more difficult than Dark Souls? And that's a fair question. From Software's Souls series, with which Bloodborne shares more than a few traits, is notoriously difficult. But whether or not it deserves that reputation depends on who you ask. But the question of whether Bloodborne is easier or harder than a Souls game isn't an easy one to answer, because once you get past the few aesthetic similarities it shares with its predecessors, it turns out Bloodborne is a very different beast. First, there's the world it takes place in. Whereas Boletaria, Lordaeron and Drangleic were ancient worlds, calcified and crumbling, Yharnam and its surrounding locales were still twitching, still bleeding, still caught in their death throes. Yharnam possesses a more grotesque, violent kind of beauty than its forebears, but it's still beautiful nonetheless. Then there are the bosses themselves, bloodied behemoths and nightmarish aberrations that'll paralyze you with fear, if you'll let them. Just like in Dark Souls, some individuals might inspire your sympathy or your admiration if you're paying attention to the lore the game subtly doles out and have learned more about them as you explore, but they can never inspire your mercy. But of course, most players are interested in Yharnam for the combat, not the story. That's why the question, is Bloodborne more difficult than Dark Souls, is the one on everyone's lips. I played the Souls games from behind a shield, sometimes with the Drake Sword and sometimes with a lightning spear, but always with a shield. That simply isn't an option in Bloodborne. The enemies are too fast and too aggressive, there's only one shield in the game and it's included as a bit of a joke, and firearms take the place of your left-hand item. Besides, when you figure out what your gun is for, essentially a parrying device, you'll never want to pick up a shield again. Most enemies will make themselves vulnerable whilst on the attack, and if you hit them with your gun during that tiny window, they'll be stunned, allowing you to follow up with a damaging visceral attack. Understanding this mechanic early on is key to victory in Bloodborne, as is appreciating the regain system, which allows bold hunters to claw back some of the health lost to an enemy by continuing to attack even after they've been hit. Everything about Bloodborne's mechanics have been designed to empower players to be constantly on the offensive, rather than hiding behind the safety of a great shield. That's a powerful revelation. So, when people ask me, is Bloodborne easier or more difficult than Dark Souls, what do I tell them? In some ways yes, in other ways no, but either way, it is one of the most thrilling experiences of this generation thus far.
And there you have it. Bloodborne is officially Video Game Nation's greatest game of 2015. But what's yours, and what are you looking forward to most in 2016? We'd love to hear from you, so share your picks with us on the official Video Game Nation Facebook page or on Twitter using the hashtag VGN. And with that, Video Game Nation is officially signing off for 2015. Thank you so much for your incredible support these last 12 months, and we look forward to seeing you again for a brand new series in the new year. Bye for now.
Someone's having their 15 minutes of fame, well, they're 3 minutes 15 seconds more likely, in Stars in Their Eyes tonight at 9 here on Challenge.